Hello and welcome to Reality Check. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Tonight, a closer look at the Punjab and Maharashtra bank crisis that's been dominating headlines for several days now. Sources are confirming a multi-crore loot in the cooperative bank, which lent 6,200 crore rupees to real estate developer HDIL, which has since filed for bankruptcy. This is a staggering 70% or over 70% of the bank's total loans going to a single firm. It's now becoming apparent that the top management of PMC Bank blatantly flouted regulations that do not allow such a large exposure even to a single sector, in this case real estate, let alone to a single firm. But it gets even worse. In what appears to be a blatant conflict of interest, the chairman of PMC Bank, Singh, was on the board of directors of HDIL till 2015. How did such an obvious conflict of interest go unnoticed? Did multiple checks and balances fail? Internal audits, audits by the RBI, did they all fail to detect these irregularities? By PMC Bank's now suspended MD's own admission, HDIL had defaulted on payments for the last 2 to 3 years, and it took a whistleblower, a PMC Bank employee, to go to the RBI for the lid to be blown on this multi-crore loot. Sources say the details of what went down have now been shared by Joy Thomas, the suspended PMC Bank MD, in a letter to the RBI. But is it already too late to protect the hard-earned savings of lakhs of account holders in the bank? The government today called the multi-crore loot an eye-opener. But is it once again a case of locking the stable door after the horse has fled? In fact, speaking to NDTV's Purva Chitnis on Friday, the PMC Bank ex-MD had extolled the special relationship between the bank and the real estate firm and said it was only the last few years when it had defaulted.
HDIL as a group has been associated with us for the last almost 30 years now. They also have grown with us, we have also grown with them. They have been paying almost 30 years now. These few years they are finding it difficult to that is the only problem.
So what's the government's response to all this? Well, Minister of State for Finance Anurag Thakur called the PMC Bank scam an eye-opener today, saying the regulator, the RBI, was looking into various aspects, including lapses on the part of the auditors.
I think the role of regulator is very important. But at the same time, the role of auditors, directors, bank officials is equally important, and what they have been doing for the last so many years, and the people responsible for this, I think the regulator is looking into that.
Joining me on Reality Check tonight, Kirit Somaiya, Vice President of the Maharashtra BJP, former MP of the Lok Sabha. Here in the Delhi studio with me, M.K. Venu, founding editor of The Wire, Renu Kohli, economist and former member of the RBI, Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, also a Congress supporter, Tamal Bandyopadhyay, author and columnist, also with us. Kirit Somaiya, let me begin with you, since you have actually filed a criminal complaint now against PMC Bank, but this loot appears to have happened over years. Why, in your opinion, did it go undetected for so long?
This is purely a fraud. It starts with the managing director of the bank. According to me, Joy Thomas is the liar. Without his sign, nothing can move. The chairman, of course, full-fledged Waryam Singh is involved, and the beneficiary, the HDIL chairman, CMD, whatever it is. Simultaneously, what I learned, that half a dozen person, including the auditor, there is a possibility of involvement of RBI people. Because this is, anybody out of 4 rupees, 3 rupees goes in one account, then anybody can detect. So that means it is a connivance, it is a criminal conspiracy. And that's why whenever now for last 2 days I am discussing this issue with the police commissioner, police official, the administrator, the RBI people, I'm warning and requesting them that please try to take steps that none of these persons will be able to run away from the country.
Okay, fair
because
enough.
these people have knowingly designed the fraud and they implement it.
All right, those are strong words, Kirit Somaya, and you're saying you're including the RBI and all of this, the same regulator that was clearly, that clearly had oversight over all of this. What happened to the multiple checks and balances? Tehseen Poonawalla, how could the RBI, for that matter, internal auditors, not know about any of this? Effectively, HDIL appeared to be controlling PMC Bank.
I would be lying to your viewers if I don't expose what has happened right now on your channel, so I need to expose it. I have a lot of respect for Mr. Kirit Somaya. He's here, he's talking about, and kudos to him for writing this complaint against PMC. Now let's ask some questions. Are not all 12 directors of the PMC Bank associated with the BJP? Number 2, did HDIL not belong to Wadhwan, and did Wadhwan give BJP a 20 crore donation or no? Number 3, is Mr. Tara Singh, was he not an aspirant against Mr. Kirit Somaya's son in the BMC elections, and because Mr. Kirit Somaya's son got a ticket, there is a rivalry, therefore Mr. Kirit Somaya is actually, it is the BJP doing this, but this is actually a scam of the BJP. All of this is on record. I dare Mr. Kirit Somaya to file a defamation case against me if this is wrong. Now the fact of the matter is this: all 12 directors of the HDIL come from the BJP, they are connected to the BJP, and not just this, this entire process has been hoodwinked. The RBI has become a wing of the government. We know that in demonetization, Amit Shah's bank had got 745 crores in 5 days, but the large question, what about those 11 lakh depositors? How can you give somebody who has a 2,500 crore, his company has a 2,500 crore loan already, a 96 crore personal loan? Why? Why? If Mr. Kirit Somaya is so honest, file a complaint against Amit Shah's Ahmedabad Cooperative Bank.
Right,
no, he won't do that. This is an internal rivalry. This is an internal rivalry. This is an internal rivalry. And for Tara Singh. But are those directors with the BJP or no? That's the question. And why? Did Wadhwan give 20 crores or no?
Let's restrict this to your questions on PMC Bank. Mr. Somaya, Tehseen Poonawalla alleging, as the Congress has been doing, that there are several people with links to the BJP here who seem to have been involved. What do you say to that?
I do not wish, or I am not going to allow anybody to divert an issue. It is a financial fraud. Just to help the HDIL people, if we will start creating the political concept, automatically the issue will get diverted. It is a fraud. HDIL 6,500
did
crores.
Mr. Wadhwan donate 20 crores to the BJP? Yes or no?
To divert an
Sir, did
issue
Mr. Wadhwan donate 20
Amit
crores to the
Shah,
BJP? With due respect to you, let's answer. Let's take it head on. This is reality check. Did Mr. Wadhwan, who controls HDIL, donate 20 crores to the BJP? Yes or no? Just answer the viewers today this. The citizens of India want to know. You're an honest man. Answer it, sir.
Gentlemen, I think you know about the rules about the talk. So will you please note down your point? Just to divert the attention, you may try to create all this.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Somaya. Let's just open this up. Let's just open this up to the rest of the panel.
Please, I am responding all the issues.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
But if somebody want to divert any acting
yes,
as
you
an
have the
agent
floor.
of
You have the floor, Kirit Somaya.
allow.
Please respond.
My point is that it is a purely a fraud. Thank you. So it is a purely a financial fraud. Now, what is the nexus of BJP or involvement of BJP? I myself have filed a complaint. Anybody who found involved will be punished. Now let us talk about the chairman. Let us talk about the board of directors. If the directors are involved, if the criminal conspiracy case is registered, it will be registered with all the directors, against all the directors. Second point, this has nothing to do with BJP. This is not BJP's bank. Hardly one director may be directly, indirectly connected with BJP. Hardly one out of 16. Second thing, if my friend, he may wish to divert it, if anybody has got very good commercial connection, it is Congress NCP leader. But I do not want to divert.
Without going into the political wrangling of this, I do want to open this up now. I do want to open this up now. Renu Kohli, if you want to come in.
That's why I am...
Yes. Mr. Somaya, we'll come back to you, but I do need to bring in the other voices as well on the panel tonight. Renu Kohli, let's just sort of focus on what is at the heart of this. 2/3 of the loans of a bank going to just one company. Are we to believe that the top management of the bank would have been in the dark about it? Is this just the chairman, as Mr. Somaya seems to suggest, or something far larger and something far more worrying?
It seems, we are all going, we have no direct information, we are all going by newspaper reports, and as disclosed by the MD says that nobody else knew, but that seems hard to believe. There are, two areas here. I mean, the point is that urban cooperative banks are always, been a kind of a shady area of regulation. There is an overlap. And in fact, I would like to, take your viewers back to 2004, when a huge scam had exploded on the Ketan Parekh related on the Madhavpura urban corporate. After that, actually, the state government signed individual MOUs with the RBI, and the separation of functions, or rather, let me say, put it this way, responsibilities is in a manner distinct, and particularly bearing upon this case, which is that the RBI does the regulation and the supervision, so the inspection, but, and this is very important because it relates to the appointments and directors, etc. The appointments, the administration side and etc. is done, it falls under the purview of the Registrar of Cooperative Societies, which is the RCS secretary, as the case may be.
Right.
They are, after that, in the wake of that scam, a task force was formed, which is a joint RBI and RCS task force. They meet quarterly, and it isn't just the Reserve Bank which does supervision. The Registrar of Cooperative Societies does so too. They do an audit, and according to newspaper reports, the RBI wrote last year in 2018 requesting the removal of the chairman.
Right.
So we need to actually to know, and the government should actually respond to this, which is that what happened, whether this matter was taken up and discussed at the quarterly meetings at all, because that's where the management and the other link arrives. So that's
a very important point you make, and MK Venu, if you want to come in on this, this appears to be such a clear case of conflict of interest as well. Here you have the chairman of the PMC Bank, Waryam Singh, also sitting in the board of directors in the very firm where this bank is sort of putting all its loan amounts, 70% of all loans of the bank going to that. How could such an obvious conflict of interest just be elided over?
Yeah, it's very clear. I mean, there is a criminal nexus here. I'm surprised that that while RBI has sort of tightened controls over the bank, and the depositors have suffered because they have not been allowed to take out money beyond a limit, nobody else is being even questioned, or no FIR or no criminal complaint is being filed. The HDIL.
Well, Mr. Kirit Somaya is saying that he's asked for such an FIR. But there have been no arrest clearly, or no follow up.
But certainly. Ankita, can I make a larger point? There is a deeper malaise, which is, I'll tell you what, the entire, I'm convinced that there is going to be a second round of bad loan NPA blowout in the Indian financial system in the next 6 months, and you'll see it. And today the markets went down, and all the gains of the great corporate tax cut, some of the gains all got evaporated because the bank index, the stock market bank index went down 700 points. There was a blowout in the India Bulls Housing Finance Company, 38% fall, unprecedented.
Yes, yes.
And why is that happening? Because banks have huge exposure to India Bulls Housing Finance. SBI and Bank of Baroda have 12,000 crores. There is a research which has come, Jeffrey's research. And my sense is there are too many hidden time bombs still.
Okay, so this is really
the problems of banks have been passed on to NBFCs and PMCs, cooperative banks. All big exposure to real estate companies. And this is all going to blow in our face in the next 6 months.
And I'm sure the real estate firms.
Yeah, and I don't think that RBI is either aware of it, or maybe it'll be surprised by these
Okay.
blowouts.
Yeah.
And we are going to see this in the next 6 months. I'm
Renu
convinced
Kohli, you
about it.
had something to add to that.
Yeah, you see, coming back to the chairman and the appointments, as I pointed out, that it is the RCS, and in the case of state cooperatives, and in the case of multi-state cooperatives, which is PMC was operating in 3 other states. So you
yes.
know, it is the commissioner or the national registrar of cooperative societies. So you know, it has been reported that Mr. Waryam Singh was the part of HTIL chairman from 2005 to 16. So after that, HTIL is one of the biggest borrowers of PMC. He was appointed chairman. So that is something that needs to be gone into, and unlike the case of banks,
Yes.
here RBI does not have a say in appointment, etc. In the case of urban cooperatives. So you know, the focus has to be as much. While I do
But
I
do
would
you
agree-
believe that the RBI, at least in its role as an auditor, has some answering to do in a situation like this, even if it's not perhaps got that kind of direct control, as you say, over
No,
a
it's
multi-state cooperative?
No, it's like the RBI is the supervisor. So it does what is called inspections. In the case of urban cooperative banks, they are graded. Large ones with A grade, in this case it's coming every year. The A grade ones are inspected every 2 years. In this instance, the RBI has pointed it out. Now what is coming out in terms of the information is that they had opened dummy accounts, so to violate the exposure norms.
Right.
But even if the dummy accounts, it is not clear as to, you know, there are also sector caps.
Yes.
As far as exposure norms are concerned. That
this
is
was
not
way too
clear.
much exposure
A,
to
and
real
B,
estate,
after
for
the
instance.
Madhapura scam, I
Yeah.
mean, all this core banking solutions, etc., computerization was actually hastened.
So are
And
you saying
Maharashtra
then that
banks-
there weren't enough checks and balances, or did this happen despite the checks and balances?
Well, I mean, at least they did send something, because that is why they asked for the removal, and they found
Can I make a
the
small point
conflict
here?
of interest.
But there seems to be this indication that had a whistleblower who was not a PMC bank employee not approached the RBI, the lid wouldn't have been blown off this
Some
either.
reports say it was a
Okay,
board
I
member,
just
we
need
don't
10
know.
seconds to make a point.
Right.
The RBI governor was interviewed last week by a TV channel and was asked, now that RBI has taken over supervision of all the NBFCs, which are carrying massive, as I said, there are a lot of time bombs there. They were housing finance companies which were earlier governed by National Housing Bank. So he was asked, are you doing an asset quality review of NBFCs? His reply was, no, we are not doing it. It's up to them to do it and give it to us. So my point is that RBI is taken some responsibility, but it's still not on top of it. I think they need to get on top
Let me
of
bring
it.
in Tamal Bandyopadhyay. You know, you've talked about how there were further levels of sort of financial sleight of hand by HDIL, which in fact borrowed from PMC Bank to pay off Bank of India loans that it had. So, you know, are we really scratching the surface over here, and are we likely to see sort of a lot more unfold or unravel over the days ahead?
No, I think, you know, it's a case of fraud, and I understand that administration has filed a case against IPC 120 and 409, and both are criminal conspiracy, and you know, that it's which I think minimum 2 years of imprisonment it calls for. So there is a fraud which has been conducted at multi-level. RBI exposure norm caps one single borrower exposure at 15%. In this case, it's 75%. B, RBI regulation prohibits connected lending, and which all your panelists and you have been repeatedly emphasizing on the connection which the chairman Singh had with the particular company. Right. So it violates the norm of connected lending. C, it also did not recognize the asset as bad, even though it is a bad asset. So all the profit in the past few years and the capital adequacy ratio which the banks have been showing, actually they are non-existing. The bank's net worth is now negative. So this is the kind of situation. My understanding is this: in 2017 sometime RBI offsite inspection found something wrong, and then at that point of time they were told, I mean, this particular bank showed around 250 odd crore exposure to this particular company, and now we are finding is this 6,500 crore. And to camouflage that, they actually rigged the CBS, the core banking solution, and created thousands of dummy accounts.
Right.
So
it's extremely worrying what you say really about
criminal activity. Then
about deposits being wiped out, because we're talking about lakhs of depositors here who are already being inconvenienced because of the cap that's been placed on withdrawals. But at the same time, we're actually sort of not looking at the larger picture about whether they're going to recover their money at all.
So there are two things here, and I agree with Venu on the RBI supervision, because Mr. Boria, JB Boria, I believe his name is, was appointed by the RBI in September. Now Boria is on record saying in the state of Maharashtra that up to 1 lakh crore of money is secured. Venu, you must hear this, and the bank is liquid. So is Mr. Boria's responsibility? You know, will RBI take some responsibility? This is on record. Number two, all these cooperative banks, whether in Maharashtra or Gujarat, are audited by state governments. So the state governments have a vested interest to protect these people. Now, I just want your viewers to understand, here is a man, Mr. Wadhwa, who donates to a political party. That political party is in power in the state. It is auditing this bank which is doing a fraud. RBI only audits it once a year or twice a year, ma'am, if I'm correct. But that's the typical thing. It's audited by the state government. These are state government appointees. So this entire thing of a scam, somebody has to be held responsible. The RBI has to have Boria responsible, or the RBI has to pull up the state government. Now we need an answer to who's responsible for this. You can't let people's money evaporate this way. It's not right.
Recently a global audit company, which has presence in India, wrote to the company affairs department talking about potential fraud in a balance sheet. Nothing has happened so far, you know.
Kirit Somaiya, very quickly, you know, this isn't only about a particular bank. What does this say about checks and balances? What does it say about the regulators? Can the RBI walk away from this, or can, for instance, the government say, oh, this is an eye-opener? You know, crores have literally evaporated. How are depositors, how are banks' customers going to be compensated in a situation like this?
First of all, once again, I would like to clear it is a fraud. The involvement may be from the RBI, maybe from some government official, but it is a fraud.
There's absolutely no doubt that there is a fraud, Mr. Somaiya. This is as big a fraud as it gets.
I don't understand. You want me to speak, or I should keep silent?
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. How is it not a fraud? We totally take your point that it is a fraud. But what now?
So then please.
All right, quick last comments, and I'll have to move on from this.
If you were going to disrupt me, then I will keep silent.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Quick last comments, because I have to.
Then go and move on.
No, sir, we want to hear from you, because it's very important. You have actually asked for an FIR to be filed.
Once again, I am going on record, it is a fraud. Another thing, let me give one more information. Mumbai police just now, few minutes back, registered an FIR. There is nothing to do with state government, because it is a multi-state cooperative. The third point is that Mr. Wadhwan or nobody has any long distance connection with BJP.
Right.
Fourth one, as I told, the state government, Mumbai police already registered an FIR. Now regarding the protection of investors, I am afraid out of 9,12,000 depositors, 8 lakh investors are around 1 lakh rupees. So they will be protected. But the remaining 1,12,000 will have to suffer, may have to suffer a loss, and that's why our priority can be rehabilitated, but it seems impossible, because I doubt a single paisa will come back from HDIL. So 6,500 crores and 1,500 crores reserves, it seems very tough task.
All right, so news coming in then of the FIR against Sarang and Rakesh Wadhwan. The Mumbai police have filed that FIR. So the first action then being seen to be taken in this case. I'm afraid we're completely out of time. Seen to be taken, yes. It's very important to make that distinction, I think. But this is going to be something we'll keep talking about, because as we said, we've perhaps barely scratched the surface of this. But spare a thought for all those depositors who were initially not even able to access any of their funds with that 1,000 rupee cap placed by the RBI. That's now been extended to 10,000. But really, what lies ahead for them? I think that's something we have to keep in mind as we talk about NPAs and this multi-crore loot. Thank you for joining us on Reality Check.